Hello, friends. It happens to every one of us once in a while. The desire to disappear off the face of the earth after a hard day's work. To get away from all the troubles and just let our souls and bodies rest in some quiet paradise. But it often happens that as soon as you sit down to relax, the phone rings, reminding you that you have a tight schedule for tomorrow and making you run off on some errand. We don't belong to ourselves. Our lives are run by the system, in which we're merely tiny parts of some much larger mechanism. That's exactly how the Italian Mauro Morandi describes his old life. Mauro worked as a PE teacher until he was 50 years old, but then his life changed in an instant. His story began accidentally. Back in 1989, the divorced man, tired of his mundane life, took a long-awaited vacation, got into his catamaran, and sailed away from his hometown of Medina. He wanted to see the exotic lands of Polynesia and rest for a few days before going back home. At the time, he couldn't have imagined that he'd become the sole inhabitant of a deserted island in the sea, but then he got in trouble on his way. The catamaran's engine broke, so Mauro had to row for 2 days with just one oar to get to the closest land. That's how he got to the little Budelli Island, located between Sardinia and Corsica in the Mediterranean Sea. After spending some time resting and admiring the beautiful rocky terrain and the unusual soft pink sand, the 50-year-old Italian bumped into a local resident who had been the island's caretaker and who Mauro soon would become friends with. Several days spent outdoors had fundamentally changed the man's worldview. During these days, he didn't worry about anything. Moreover, according to Mauro himself, for the first time in many years, he could sleep at night. He stopped getting chest pains and could see the stars in the night sky. He could finally break free from the never-ending race for money, the noise and constant rush of the city. But as they say, all good things must come to an end. Having returned to his home city, the man couldn't get back to his regular life for a long time. It was as if he returned a different person. His health issues came back, he had to go back to work, more bad news kept coming from the TV, and the cars kept honking outside. Then one morning, Mauro woke up, and for the first time in his life, he realized that he was living someone else's life. He felt like he was running in a hamster wheel. In that moment, standing on the balcony of his apartment, Mauro decided that it was time to radically change his life. He packed his most necessary belongings and went back to the wild island. Apart from the caretaker, the pink sand beaches did attract a few tourists. However, the caretaker soon left, and it so happened that the failed traveler took his place. The new caretaker turned into the lonely Robinson Crusoe. The gray-haired Mauro Morandi is 80 years old now. He only leaves his sandy home twice a year to go visit his daughter, and he always comes back to his little house, which he built with his own 2 hands and completed with solar panels, books, and a computer. In the early 1990s, Budelli Island got special protected status. All thanks to the pink sand beach, which was defined as a place of high natural value. Thus, vacationing on the island has been prohibited. Now the island can only be visited with a guided tour. In 2006, due to financial trouble, a private company stopped paying Mauro for his work as a caretaker. But he decided to stay on the island anyway and continue to work for free. Sometimes during the winter, the storms are so rampant and last for so long that Mauro ends up spending a whole month alone without any communication with the mainland, surviving on his scarce supplies as there is no way to replenish his food reserves, but none of that scares him in any way. Apart from the Wi-Fi router, a tablet, and a solar panel, the Italian Robinson owns an old refrigerator, a reliable generator, a video camera, and some essential tools. Mauro isn't used to delicacies and is quite happy with his limited menu. Over the years, the hermit has gotten used to the unusual way of life, away from civilization. He reads a lot, takes pictures and videos. Also, thanks to his creative side, the branches and bizarre trunks of the junipers have turned into material for unusual sculptures. The few tourists that sail by the island gladly buy these handmade souvenirs from him. He donates most of the money to a charity organization, as he simply has no need for it, except for buying a few necessities. the only resident of Budeli Island, started a small farm a while ago. The man keeps hens, so he gets to enjoy the fresh eggs every day. His furry friends, the cats, keep his house free from the intrusive mice. The Italian Robinson makes do with no running water. The clean rainwater is collected in a large tank and can later be used as drinking water, clean dishes, laundry, and personal hygiene. But here, nature is only generous with rains during the cool season, while in the summer the climate is very dry and personal hygiene has to suffer. However, despite all the inconveniences, the sea hermit doesn't want to return to the mainland because, according to Mauro, the unadulterated nature is more dear to him than any crowded city. It's been 30 years since Mauro left the mainland, and he still lives on the island alone. He has studied virtually every bush and inhabitant of the island. He lives in a stone house and talks to birds in the morning. They're the only ones he can have a conversation with on the island. He has fun exploring the surroundings, swimming, and watching animals alone with nature. It's extremely important to have something you can do every day, such as fishing, writing, painting, anything. If you don't have a hobby, you won't last 2 months on a deserted island. Left alone on the island, Mauro didn't want to share this beauty with anyone at first and avoided any contact with the tourists. But over the years, he's become softer, and now Robinson says that he feels selfish enjoying nature alone and sees his mission in showing the beauty of the nature to the tourists. In the high season of summer, Mauro leads tours around the island, communicating with the visiting foreigners, but when winter comes, he's left one-on-one with nature. According to Mauro, he never feels sad or lonely, and when he heard about the coronavirus hitting Italy and the whole world, he felt like his isolation was the safest place on the planet. A few years back, Budeli Island almost got sold into private ownership to a New Zealand entrepreneur, Michael Hart, who was willing to pay €3 million for it. But the Italians started a petition and collected 20,000 signatures to ban the sale of the island. Thus, Mauro didn't get evicted. Over the years, he's become their own Robinson Crusoe of the Italian people. Many reporters visit him to get an interview and ask about his lifestyle. It's hard to believe, but the 80-year-old man feels great with no help from doctors or medications. He jogs daily and makes the rounds of the vast territory of the island, keeping track of the bird population and the many plants on the island. Thanks to his efforts, today this island is untouched by humanity and a paradise in the Mediterranean Sea. The island has become his home, where Mauro dreams to spend the rest of his life, and when his time comes, he wants his ashes to be scattered over his beloved island. So friends, let us know what you think. Would you be able to just up and leave everything behind and move away from civilization, your work, and people, and go live completely alone? Well, that's it for today. Rate the video if you liked it and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time.